What's up, everybody, and welcome to today's Tonal Talk. Today, we are talking all things breakthrough. It's our latest 2-track multi-coach program that is designed to help you overcome some barriers, build some technical skills, and deepen your connection to your training routine through intelligent, progressive movement.
Now, with this 2-track program, we've designed the workouts to meet you wherever you are come January. So whether you're stepping into strength training for the first time, you're new to Tonal, or you're ready to refine some of those advanced skills, there's a breakthrough waiting for you. So we cannot wait to share what makes this program so special.
So special. Joe, you're special. Should we jump in? We are ready. Are you guys excited about this? Tonal Talk has officially begun. Listen, if you guys looked at the little thumbnail for this and you're like, you know what? I'm just going to join because Joe and Ash are going to be weird. You are correct, my friend. And we're jumping straight in.
It is already started. This is a hot start.
Hey, should we break in to break through?
Let's break in.
See what I did there?
To identify the breakthroughs. Let's do it.
Let's do it.
That's pretty funny.
All right, y'all. So here's what we're going to do today, just so you can kind of get a visual of how we're going to break this down. Joe and I are each on different tracks. So we'll kind of talk about our tracks. We'll try to make it high level at first, then we'll get into the nitty gritty because we know y'all love the science of the programming. Yeah. And then we're going to get into some of that like really deep feel good stuff right at the end and get you excited about jumping into the program.
That's awesome, man.
All right. Should I talk about track 1?
Yeah, dive in.
Let's
kick us off.
All right, y'all. So I'm going to be doing track 1 with Coach Tanisha Renee. And again, let's keep it kind of high level here. So the first thing you're going to ask is, what's our goal? How long are we doing it? How many days are we doing it? And what's the breakdown, right? That's kind of the first thing I ask out of a program. So let's talk about it. Number 1, we're going to be doing this for 4 weeks. Both of us, but we're going to be doing this for 4 weeks in track 1. Now, this is our beginner track, and we're going to lean into the word beginner in a little bit, but I really want you to know that. Beginner track, we're going for 4 weeks. We're going to work out 3 days a week. Now, each of those days is going to be full body. We'll talk about why we're getting into that. But the big thing I want you to know is that we're going to be focusing on very similar movements throughout the 4 weeks, but we're going to give you different themes, and we're going to lean into those themes as we get into it. But some of the stuff that you can kind of expect to see are like competencies in just like big patterns. So Joe, you know this, right? The squat, the hinge, the push, the pull. We're going to get into some lunge patterns. Yeah. We're going to talk about some things like proprioception, unilateral versus bilateral. We're going to talk about movement, mobility, dynamic control, all words that you're probably like, I know this, but like, let's dive in even more. The big thing I do want you to know is that it's all about quality and not intensity. That's going to be our big theme for level 1 and track 1 in the beginner track. Joe, do you want to give us a high level of track 2?
Very similar, right? So we're following a very similar theme. It's just a little bit more advanced in certain ways. So like frequency is going to be a little bit higher. We're going to go from 3 days to 4. And then we're going to be focused on the same things. I think this is about, refining your skills and developing mastery within some of these movements. So as Ash is mentioning, it's not always about ramping up intensity. In fact, I think there's something to be said for working on skill acquisition, slowing things down, and working on some things that maybe we've been neglecting. So in this track, in the intermediate track, we're going to be, myself, Woody, and Coach Akeem are going to be guiding you through 4 weeks, 4 days a week, working on those types of skills. And when it comes to strength training, I think a simple way to kind of break it down is, sometimes we're thinking so much about progressive overload and pushing so hard to kind of get to the other side, and there's a component to that where you're working very hard to try and push and gain an adaptation. But there comes a time when we got to step back. Just like a pro athlete would work on their swing, right? Or their throwing mechanics. You start to work on the subtle details. So that's where we work on that unilateral strength. We work on balance. We work on changing tempos and bringing control into the mix so that ultimately you can ramp back up to a greater intensity, setting yourself up. So that's what we're looking at. Ash, let's dive into some specifics. Let's get into some of the programming details.
You know I love to nerd out over this,
man. Let's get into some of the science a little bit.
All right, so let's switch back to track 1. So we're going back to the beginner track. So as Joe was saying, the advanced track, you're going to have a bit more of like this split. You might like dial in a bit more. So maybe some upper lower, but let's lean into track 1 and beginner and how we're breaking this down. So number 1, we're going 3 days a week, which is what we said. But I want to like start this with the actual splits, right? So we're going full body. Now, a lot of times people will ask, hey, I see a beginner intermediate track that does a lot of full body. And then I see the advanced tracks, which do more of like an upper body, lower body split. And why do we do that? And that's one of the big things I want to lean into early is this is truly a beginner program, Joe, right? Like the big thing was we've had so many new members in the OTC in the past few months. You know,
man,
every
so
time
awesome to
Scott
see.
like
Yeah.
adds a welcome to the team, like there are so many new friends here. And the big thing is we want to know at the beginning of the year, if you have never trained on tonal, or maybe you've just started to dabble in workouts, but you're still kind of like learning these words. You're like, what the heck is proprioception, Ash? Or even just something as simple as, you tell me to squat, I'll squat, but am I doing it right?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
How does programming really come together? You guys talk about hypertrophy and you talk about recovery and, you know, adaptations, another word that we like to throw around. So
Yeah.
we're going to lean into those things in track one. And the reason we do full body is because you hit all the muscles and then you kind of get to recover in between and then you go all muscles again. Where if you do a body split, you're going to work out a bit longer in the week, right? So if you hit a body split, you can do arms one day, legs one day, and you can kind of go back to back.
Yeah.
Where if you do full body, you have to rest a little in between, which is actually good. So that's why we lean into that
Very good.
three. That's why we lean into to a little bit of that split. So I wanted to kind of give you guys the breakdown. So when you see those 3 days with me and Coach Tanisha, we're going to always have kind of this 3-block breakdown. So we'll do first few days, we're going to give you a split. So we're going to have a split, but within the day. So we'll do a lower body block, a full body block, and then we'll kind of hit this breakthrough core right at the end. And then the last day of the week, we're going to do all full body blocks, if that
Okay.
makes sense. Can you visualize it a little bit?
Oh, yeah. Oh, I see it.
I don't know. I like to see it. I like to see it. Like if I do this, I'm like, what's our programming look like? All right. So the next thing we're going to go with are going to be the big themes, right? So when you kind of give the whole, this is my
I'm
big
loving
theme.
the visuals, by the way. I'm
Yeah,
a
this is
visual
my big
learner.
theme.
This is fantastic.
I think about it as this umbrella. I'm thinking about all 4 weeks. Now we're going to break down under the umbrella. You got like 4 or 3 pillars, as you would say, like things that we're going to focus on. Right, so day 1, we're gonna focus on grounded strength. Day 2, we're gonna focus on a bit of this like dynamic balance.
Okay.
And then in day 3, we're gonna do integrated movement. And if you're like, what does that mean? Grounded strength, we're gonna do bilateral work, meaning both, right? Both legs, both arms. You're gonna see a lot of squats, pushes, pulls.
Working together.
Then we're gonna, and then we're gonna get into dynamic balance. So what's the point of having all the muscle if you can't actually control that in some stability?
Yep.
Yeah. And then we're going to get into integrated movement. So a lot of conversation around how do you move on the day-to-day and how does that look on tonal? So again, really coming at this from the beginner full body.
Yeah.
Now, one of the other things we like to do is when your programming feels the same, how do you make it feel different? So we're going to like take 4 different colored glasses. Again, visuals, right? We're going to give you a pair of sunglasses for week 1. I don't know why we keep doing this. We're going to do it. So let's say like week 1, I'm giving you some blue sunglasses you're going to look through, and it's going to be all about awareness. And then in week 2, we're going to say, okay, we're going to switch to red sunglasses, and it's going to be all about like connecting, so that connection. In week 3, we're going to talk about control, and then in week 4, we're going to talk about the breakthrough. Right? So same program, different colored glasses.
So it feels like a really systematic like build up. We're not ramping things up too fast. Really building
100%.
a foundation on it.
Do the basics, do them well,
Yeah.
like get comfortable with them. Because at the end of the day, if in week 1 you are so terribly sore and debilitated by your programming, in week 2 you can't do it again, then we did something wrong.
Yeah.
Right? So we really want to like lean in a little bit more, and then right at the end feel this like big breakthrough moment.
Yeah.
And then you're not injured coming into like your next program or the next month. So yeah, those are kind of the big things.
I mean, that's smart training right there. I think we forget that sometimes, that it's always this push, but it's really a build up to a level of like peak performance. But as a beginner, I'm just curious your thoughts on this, because we've all started somewhere, right? And when you're learning these lifts, it can be a little bit intimidating.
Yeah.
And if you're new to tonal, it's kind of like you're learning the verbiage, you're learning how we speak, what these things mean, how they connect. So as a beginner, how is this going to help set someone up, for their journey in training in general, and even build their confidence as they're lifting?
It's a great question. I mean, listen, anytime you're training, you want to feel good about what you're doing, but you want to feel confident about what you're doing. The second you question anything, right, if it starts breaking down up here, it starts breaking down below. So it's really like finding that confidence with just our essential movement patterns. So again, if I were to give you, just say to do a squat, you're like, I can do a squat.
Yeah.
But what if we really like talk about your ankles and squats? Would you be like, heck yeah?
I would.
Let's talk about the ankles.
I'd go nuts about it.
Because most of us don't learn early on in our training that your squat actually starts in the ankles.
Yeah, man.
Right? So if we can give that knowledge, we're not just talking about setting you up for breakthrough. We're talking about setting you up for like the other 11 programs that you're doing in 2026.
Yeah.
So it's really about building that confidence. It's prioritizing a bit of that education piece over the exhaustion piece.
It's big.
Any coach, any workout program can make you tired.
True.
And it can make you sore.
Yep.
And it can debilitate you so much that you're like, wow, that was great. But the reality is it's not. So what if we just I always say it pull back a little bit like a bow and arrow, and then we just let it go and you just shoot forward because you have all this education and knowledge on how your body works and moves.
Yeah.
And then you're like, you know what? Thanks, Coach Ash. Thanks, Coach Tanisha. I'm good. I'm ready for the next step.
Yeah. That's the goal right there.
Yep.
A smart build up.
All right. That was kind of my deep dive into track 1. I'm going to hand it off to you.
Into track 2.
To track 2.
So you're going to see some similar themes. So let's break down the split. So we're going to go from 3 days, we're going to go into 4. So as Coach Ash was touching on, this is going to be a little bit more isolated. We're going to go into a lower body strength. So we're going to work from the ground up. We're going to work on these barbell progressions. Then we're going to go into upper body push, working on those barbell variations from there. Then we're going to go lower body speed and control. So you're going to have a little bit more balance to play with, dynamic balance. And then we're going to finish with an upper body pull focus. So you're going to have everything that you need to cover the full body. And this is what we do with strength. You're working on these compound movements and you're building upon that. So, when it comes to intermediate, it gets to a point where I want to work on skill refinement. And I would say that these are the types of things that probably most people are not doing on a regular basis. These are the little things that are going to support these very big lifts. So as we break down these themes, these are the things that are going to help you to push and increase that intensity into later programs that you do. So to think about it this way, there's always a great time to push and to drive intensity. I love to work hard. I love to train hard, right?
Really?
I'm guilty.
Shocker.
Yeah, I do. I like to throw down sometimes, but it catches up to all of us. So we got to reskill, man. You got to reskill and you got to slow down. It's kind of like in season and in off season. Sometimes I think of it like that. There's a time to build and then there's a time to slow down and refine. So as you have these great programs that are built out, to your point before, building this foundation, it's not just about the program, it's about the execution of the program. And it's about your ability to execute these movements, the way they're intended to be. And for you to push great weight, you have to have incredible control. And if we're only pushing heavy weight, eventually we tend to get out of control. We tend to get into these spots where you have to compensate to move this weight. So we're going to attack these other areas that are going to support these main lifts. So in these themes, very similar to track 1, we're going to focus on a few things. Week 1, we're going to go a little bit more into alignment. This is about just repetition, right? It's just grooving the movements into your subconscious. It's getting this stuff just on autopilot. Settling in, man. Just repeating. And it's more of a movement quality game. So it's way less about weight. It's more about the control and how you're moving the weight, getting very used to the movements itself. Then we'll go into stability. So that goes into your balance. It goes into isometrics and time under tension. So we'll get into slower eccentrics and holding positions with almost no force on isometrics. So it's actually great for the joints, helps you recover because you're not pushing heavy weight there, helps you recover the nervous system. And I see it as this point where on a squat or on a bench, we have these kind of difficult points in the lift. Maybe the bottom of your squat is a little bit of a trouble point. Maybe you have a little bit of a sticking point in those positions. That's where you start to isolate that.
I call it the pain cave.
The pain cave?
Pain cave.
You want to sit in the pain cave.
Yeah, there's a part in every movement that I call the pain cave, and it's where you get to that sticky.
Where it's just tough.
And you kind of just have to sit just for that second, and then you come out of it.
Yeah, man. Yeah. That's where we're going. The pain cave. I'm going to use that. Yeah, we say that a lot, I think, in my programs. But that's the whole point, man. It's sitting into these spots and building strength in those areas. This is why I like isometrics so much.
Yeah.
Because you set you sit in that pain cave and then you kind of overcome these things, right?
I like that.
So then we'll get into strength, where we start to increase the intensity just a little bit. You'll push a little bit more weight, reduce the reps, and then we finally get to this point, of closing it out with breakthrough. And that's really like this bringing it all together type of moment.
Love that.
That's where we're at.
Pretty excited.
Yeah, man.
I'm excited to get back to track 2 eventually in the future.
I
But
feel
I'm loving track 1. I'm thriving in track 1 right
you
now.
did great in track 1.
Heck yeah, I did.
You were crushing this thing.
All right, that sounds pretty cool.
Yeah, man.
So you guys kind of got the breakdown of the program, yes? How do we feel about it? By the way, any questions you all have, please follow up with us in the OTC, social media, hit us up because we want to continue to answer some of these questions. But let's really talk about what breakthrough means.
I'm kind of curious, like Ash, like to get your perspective on this, like how, because we've all had these journeys. We've all had sticking points.
Yeah.
Right. And I'm curious how training like this, like when it hit for you, like the realization of like, I got to kind of fine tune some things, right? Because it's not always about speeding up. Sometimes about getting back to some of the basics, building the fundamentals again, building that foundation. Maybe how you did that in your training, how that carried over into other aspects, in your life.
When we talk about breakthrough and we talk about like how we can apply the training that we're doing into everyday life, like real talk, elephant in the room, baby bump in the room, like I'm going through pregnancy right now, right?
Yeah,
which is like a massive change.
Yeah.
And that's like more of a physical change, but it affects everything else in life. So all of a sudden, something that was ingrained in me for 10 plus years of like, I trained a certain way, certain intensity, certain weight, all of a sudden that shifted. And I had to go back to, as you said this for track 2, you kind of take that step back. It's like you fix the swing, right? We talked a little bit about football. Shocker, you and I get into some football conversation. Josh Allen conversations. Every year, the MVP still fixes his throw, right?
Yeah, man.
So we're like going back to, and even for myself as an advanced, I like to consider myself an advanced lifter, an advanced athlete in whatever sport or modality I'm getting into. I had to pull back to some of those basics and just kind of like fine tune. And I'm like, this is where I'm at right now. It's not where I want to be. It's not where I've been, but it's like where I'm at right here. And for me, like that's what breakthrough encompasses. It's breaking through this like current space. So especially when we get into track 1, we're talking to, again, someone who's like a true beginner. I think about like, my mom, yes, she's been working out with us, but she still considers herself like, I can still learn. Yeah. She's still that beginner. Somebody who's gone through an injury. We see it all the time in the OTC. The holidays kicked my butt. I've been out for 3 months. I've been out for 6 months. All of a sudden, it was like a year plus that I haven't trained. Don't be afraid to like put yourself back into this bucket of like a beginner, set foundation, start again, and then like break through that. And like, don't be afraid to like start through there and then kind of break in.
Yeah, man. No, I think it's the whole setup. How did you feel going through that? Because obviously, and by the way, like truly watching you film this while you've been pregnant and doing these workouts was one of the most impressive things I think I've ever seen. How did it feel doing that? Like, how did you have to approach the program, even filming it and some of the movements? Like, were there modifications, like, compared to, the way you've been doing this your whole life and then how you're approaching it now? Like, how are you kind of changing even maybe your self-talk and how you were going into these different movements?
Totally. And thank you for that, by the way.
Yeah, man. I
appreciate
mean
that.
For real.
Sometimes we just need someone to be like, you're doing a good job.
You're doing a great job.
You're doing a good job.
It's the most impressive thing I think I've ever seen.
But honestly, like the big thing for me, especially when I was coaching this, when we were looking at the programming, was just constantly like putting myself in the shoes of others. And as a coach, I know you do this too. It's always like trying to relate to like who we're getting to work out with and who's working out with us.
Yeah.
So there was like a few things that, I always thought about, which was like understanding our body more deeply. So we talk about the idea of like proprioception in our program. And one of the things that I was kind of thinking about was like understanding how your body even just moves, right? My body's changing, it moves differently. Your body was injured, it moves differently. We're getting older, it moves differently. Not in a bad way, just different.
It's just different.
Right.
Yeah.
And so I always like to come up with visuals. Shocker.
Yeah.
I always like
you
to
established that pretty early today.
Like, I just like, if I close my eyes, I visualize trying to get the point across. So like when I was thinking about how do I explain like understanding, connecting your body visually, and we talk about proprioception in week 1, we set this foundation of like, how do you see the movements happening? The first thing I thought of was like teaching Joe how to do a pirouette. Could you guys imagine that?
I could do it.
Do you know what a pirouette is?
Yeah.
He like Googles it. Hey Siri, what's a pirouette?
I know what it is, man.
So again, the concept of saying, hey, do a squat. And you're just like, cool, drop into a squat. If I were to say do a pirouette, you would do something really like funny and cutesy, but it wouldn't be perfect. And you'd have to, by the way, I didn't mean to do this. You talked about ballerinas earlier, but we're talking about doing this very advanced movement that's very specific.
Yeah.
And you could probably just like wing it if you watch someone do it. But if you had like the perfect training of how to like knock out this pirouette, don't know why I went with this movement, but we're going with it.
Okay.
You would crush it. All of a sudden you'd have like beautifully pointed hands and toes and you would look like this amazing ballerina. But if you tried to do it without training, you know, you'd look crazy.
Crazy, like a crazy person.
So that's a big thing. We just want you to, I wanted really, and Tanisha wanted this, and the beginner level was to like walk away being like, I know you can do a squat. I know you can do a push. I know you can do a push-up.
Sure.
But like, can we break it down so much that when you walk away from this and you do other programs this year, you, and in the most annoying way, can't get us out of your head. And you're like, I said to work my ankles.
No, it's what it's all about. Like, honestly, I wish, like, from a coach's perspective, like when you start to get to a point where you're like, you've experienced a lot yourself, you know, you've coached and worked with a lot of people, you get to this point where you're like, how would I want to kick somebody off into their strength training journey?
Yeah.
Like, even if I was starting myself again, like brand new, what would I do different?
Yeah.
And it would be foundational strength first, like working through the mobility and taking advantage of that foundation. Like, I think getting that under control with strength, having an ability to hold isometrics, to learn about ankle mobility, to understand like all the little moving parts in these compound lifts, how to get under control, it's going to set you up for any style of training that you go after onto this. Like, it is such a foundational thing to build on.
So let's lean into that. So you kind of asked me a little bit about track one, what breakthrough meant to me. But like for you, like what does breakthrough mean to you in track two? And then maybe even leaning into that intention, precision piece of training.
Just getting a little bit more like detail oriented around it.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're an advanced, user, if you've been lifting for a long time or you're on intermediate, I think there's something to be said about when to not just push, but when to start to refine. And, I kind of use this term, depth over breadth. So I think there's a tendency to think about all of the work that I should be doing more, that I should be looking at more move variations, new ways to approach things, changing stuff up week to week, when in fact, it's more the opposite. I think it's more of a refinement, especially as we get older, of understanding, look, honestly, it's like this. The longer you do this, you realize these compound movements are exactly what they are, right? They haven't changed. We know that they work, and these systems are set up, and there's a method to it. So it comes down to how well can I do these lifts, how well I can execute them, and how well I can do them under control.
Yeah.
So, I've noticed this in my own training. We all get to these spots, right? Because we always train in like these different phases, whether you're aware of it or not. Like, you're starting to make progress, then you might stall out, right? You hit like these plateaus. And that's usually this indicator that something needs to change.
Yep.
But the thought sometimes is that, well, that means I need to push harder. It means I need to do more work, more aggressively. Sometimes, but other times it's actually let me work on the movement quality and maybe let me identify, some weak points. Because that's all these compound lifts are. Like, when you really think about what training is, right? You're looking at a compound lift. That's like your benchmark. Like, we're going to do this every week. We're going to come back to it all the time.
Yeah.
So it's your test to be like, how well is this going? And as you increase the weight, all that's going to do is expose those weaknesses even more.
Yeah.
And that's what a pro lifter does, right? They'll see, like, in a squat, they'll be like, all right, I don't know if I can handle this weight as well because, like, I'm seeing a break in my spine, a little bit of a rounding, or like a knee collapse, or like that ankle mobility is like getting a little bit, it's not as stable as I want it to be, right?
Yeah. So
that's when you start to go in and start to work on those little details, like the balance, like the tempos, like the control, these pauses, slower eccentrics. So it's a method of kind of slowing down, but it's more of a reframing of the mind of thinking about, like, let me get more methodical on this and think more about the long game so that I can set myself up to drive that intensity later.
Yeah.
And you can get into it with so much more control.
You know what? Just listening to you talk, I could listen to you talk like this all day, by the way. Like it fires me up. I get so inspired. But I'm sitting here smiling because we just had the Heisman Trophy winner announced last week.
Yeah,
and
man.
Talking about your IU, throwing it back to you went to IU, correct?
Yeah, I went to IU.
Yeah. So one of the things that Fernando Mendoza, who won the Heisman Trophy,
Class
said,
act too.
he said in his speech, he says, it was such a powerful quote about like quiet work. And he said, toughness doesn't need to be loud. It can be quiet and strong.
Yes. I loved it. It was such a good speech. Absolutely.
And when I think about breakthrough, like I think of that. It might not be about big, loud PRs. It might not be about big and loud volume. It may just be this like quiet, strong month of like breaking through some barriers that you have, which actually might be like sitting in the work, a little more silent.
Yeah, man.
Right? It might be pulling back to set the foundation so that we can get loud a little bit later in the year, right?
Yeah,
Maybe when some of our new long programs drop right after, right? Being ready for it to get loud again and all the grunts and stay strong moments.
There's a time for it.
Yeah, but like, so like, let's lean into Fernando's mentality this month of like, you know, it doesn't mean that we have to be loud. Like, let's be maybe quiet and a little strong about it.
It's the best way to go about it. Yeah, I loved that. He's such a good example of what that work is. Like, there is a work ethic that needs to be involved, but there's also got to be a strategy about it, right? There's got to be a skill portion to it.
Yep.
And you know, we forget that, and it's like if you bypass that, you know, you get into a spot where you're just kind of doing yourself a disservice. You know. I think you just put yourself in the wrong position.
Listen, even the MVP goes back to the basics.
Yeah, man. He does.
All right, so let's talk a little bit more. That was, I mean, man, we went deep there. I loved that.
I could go there all day.
All right, so let's go back to just like choosing a track, right? We leaned into that a little bit. So if I were someone in the OTC, and again, we have members who've been around for years.
Sure.
But we're also going to have a lot of members who like, this might be our very first program. And you start off and you immediately have like, which one should I take?
Right.
And we kind of broke everything down, but even if it feels still a little like, which one should I do? Help us make the decision.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you know, circling back to a lot what we talked about, I think like if you're first of all, if you're new to tonal, even if you've lifted before, right? We know that there's a new way. Like getting used to tonal is one thing too, like learning the verbiage, learning how to set up and put yourself in good positions on here.
Yep.
So I think that's always a great place to start. We're big believers in the long game.
Yeah.
And so get yourself a setup to build that confidence and get very comfortable so that you can get into a position to push. If you're taking a step back, right? You maybe had a long stretch where, you know, you're just getting back into strength training, ease back in, like build that foundation again, get the body comfortable and warming up. I think those are great places to go, or if you're just like brand new to lifting and need to get, you know, comfortable.
And Coach T and I really lean into that again in track one. Like if you're someone who's lifted before and you've been on tonal, but maybe you just kind of want to lean into that like thought process.
Yeah.
You do want to pull back. You can always make things harder. We know this. You can lift heavier, you can move faster, you can skip forward and take the breaks out of it to make it more difficult. But especially in track one, just know that beginners, like we're taking our time, but not in a like make this easier kind of way.
How do you coach different? Like you personally, like how do you coach different? Like if you're doing one of your advanced programs, intermediate to like when you're now coaching someone that's brand new, like what is your focus compared to those two? Like how do you talk to them differently?
Such a good question. That's such a good question. I love that. Because, you know, listen, as a female coach, there's a lot of times like I wish I could always kind of have this major intensity because I want some people to like respect that I can like throw down still too. But when I say I love to like help people find these light bulb moments and unlock their training, I love it. Mostly because like I want to be able to like hand someone off and be like, go take Joe's 12-week program and absolutely crush it because you really understood the squat and the hinge and the push and the pull.
Yeah.
But more than anything, like I want you to be able to train for always. I always want it to be hard and challenging. I want you to hit every goal, whether that's an aesthetic goal, a weight loss goal, a fat loss goal. But I just want you to feel good at the end of the day, right? So if we can squat better, our back probably feels better. if we could hinge better,
Yeah.
right? Like we probably sit up straighter. We probably just feel more comfortable in our body.
Yeah.
And we can just do the day-to-day things. And we talk a lot about that in our programming.
Love
So
that.
again, if you were taking a program with me and I'm like breaking down the mechanics, if you closed your eyes and just listened, I want you to visually be able to see everything we're doing. And so we really get into that a lot when we're in track one.
The cueing is super important because I think it goes back to like that helps with like self-talk as you go through, I think, programs. Like you start to, instead of having maybe a self-doubt kind of like mindset, like your voices in your head, if you can start to train yourself into like neutral thinking or go back to cues.
Yep.
Right? So like you're a little scared of the weight or this is new, but if you can just go back to, all right, breathe, brace, feet here, feet there, like just get back to your setup.
Yep.
You start to like develop that.
Yeah, I mean, who doesn't
pattern.
Want like Coach Joe, like a little figurine on their shoulder, just
Flapping
being like,
in your ear.
did you brace your core?
I don't know if everybody wants that, but
Look, you got multiple coaches to choose from. Like, what do you want on your
we're all
shoulder
gonna
today?
be in your face.
You know, is it Coach T? Is it Woody? Is it Akeem? Is it Joe? Is it Ash?
I got another question for you that I think is a big one. Because you strength train, you do it very well. It's a massive part of your routine. And I think about this often, man. Like there is a barrier that women have to go through in that space. And I think it's psychological as well as like getting used to like the physical adaptations.
Yep.
And I'm curious what your experience was like with that. Like, how did you get over this? I don't know if you had intimidation, like getting into strength training or like a different perception to it. And how did you get to where you are now?
For sure. I mean, listen, we often correlate strength training with intensity, right? And when we think about intensity, we also don't connect that to this like feminism, right? But we can, and we should. As a female in the strength industry and talking about strength and lifting and barbells, it can be very intimidating because we don't feel like we necessarily fit sometimes. But the reality is we all move. We all have hips and knees and shoulders, and we all need to be able to do basic mechanics of movement. And so to be honest, it's just kind of like shutting down the noise, right? Of like, that's why I love Tonal. No one's watching. It's just you.
Yeah.
You're just at home perfecting these
Just doing
things.
your work.
Just again, lean into that quiet work a little bit. And so even for women in strength, listen, our bodies go through a lot, not just over, months, but just in like a week at a time, our training can feel different. And so I think it's always nice to be able to like have someone that you can connect with on that. Like you see somebody in your training. So if as a female coach in strength, if another woman is like, I see Ash doing this in a very like different phase of life, I feel connected to it and I feel empowered by it. Like that's what fires me up.
Yeah. No, it's a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
It is, man. Being that voice, giving them some inspiration in that space. Yeah, it's a good spot to be in.
Thanks, Joe.
Love that, Ash.
All right, let's kind of lean into like as we start to wrap this up. So let's like lean into some of the questions that the community might have. So some of the things that they may be asking. So one of the things might be, hey, where's the challenge taking place? Is it a separate group or are we doing it in the main OTC?
We're going right in the OTC.
Right in it.
We're keeping it right with everybody.
Throw them down.
Which I love, man.
Yeah.
Get some eyes on it.
Yeah.
Keep people accountable. I think it's one of the best parts of the entire training experience.
Listen, throughout the entire year, we do a lot of like smaller groups where we get to like lean into our programming, break things down. But once a year, truly like once, maybe twice a year, we bring everybody together in the main OTC, and breakthrough is going to be that moment. So it's like track 1, track 2 doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It's going to be so exciting. And there's just going to be this energy throughout January, which let's be honest, sometimes can have a little bit of a lull. And I think we're all going to be in it together. So if you're new to the OTC, if like members are just like, if they're nervous about posting, please post. Please talk to us.
Oh, do it. Yeah, no, training partners are incredibly important, Like I know we both believe that. I can safely say like none of us would be where we are without great people around us. We've all had that in our lives, like people training with us, beside us, that are stronger than us, faster than us, all that stuff to learn from. And so accountability is a big piece of this game. And like we keep it fun. So like when you're in there, support each other. Everybody's battling and someone's going to need you. Someone's going to be inspired by the work you're doing just because you're doing it.
That's right.
So
I said it this week in the OTC. I said, welcome to like one of the greatest groups of just humans in general. Truly. I just think our community is
incredibly supportive.
So special. And if you're having a bad day, if you don't have motivation, You can just pop into the OTC and be like, is anyone working out at 5:30 a.m. Eastern time? I would love, and you will have 6 people that'll be like, hey, do you want to Zoom with us?
Yeah.
We're all going to work out together.
Yeah.
I've
that's
never
the beauty.
seen anything like it.
No,
truly.
that's the beauty, because everybody's like more focused about the work than anything else. And like, that's think about how powerful that spot is.
Yeah.
That it's not about an outcome. It's about like, there's a respect for you just starting and being in the work.
Yep.
Not about where you are,
Yep.
not about where you've been, not about your skill level, just about the fact that you are in there working, that you're learning.
If there has ever been a no judgment zone, it's the Tonal Facebook community, in my opinion. I mean,
We need it.
you could put, hey, I did a workout today and I barely lifted 1,000 pounds, but like this was a breakthrough for me. You will never feel more motivation and excitement from someone you've never met to be like, yes,
Yeah, man.
do more of that. Heck yes, like you're crushing it. So I'm pretty excited about Breakthrough. I think it's gonna, open up the OTC for a lot of people. And one of the things I want to make sure that like we talk a little bit about are doing add-ons for some of the programs.
Oh, sure.
Right. So a lot of, especially because this program goes beginner and then it goes intermediate. It's not necessarily like beginner, intermediate, and then advanced, right? So from the beginner perspective, and then I'll have you maybe talk about the advanced perspective.
Yeah.
If you are someone who has trained at a certain level and maybe you are kind of, let's say, smidging it back, and you're saying, okay, I'm going to do the beginner or I'm going to do intermediate, but I'm used to big volume, really long workouts, big intensity, whatever that might be. If this isn't enough, right? Could I supplement? Like, how do I add more? So I'll talk about beginner really quick.
Sure.
So we're going to do 3 days a week. Let's say you're feeling really good and you're like, this weight is perfect. 3 days a week is perfect. Full body is perfect. But I actually think that I can do just a little bit more. One of the things I want to recommend is that you can lean into some add-on workouts. So things that are really good, especially for the beginner track, are going to be our ankle straps and our loops with Pilates. So active recovery is a huge part of training. We don't lean into it enough.
Massive.
Active recovery does not mean, and listen, I love being like this on my couch, lots, even more so now.
Yes.
Right? But yes,
Yes.
especially in January, yes, we love to lie on our couch. But also just know that as you're recovering, you can move. You can go for your walk, you can go for your, you can cycle, you can swim, you can jog, as long as the intensity is not super high.
Right.
So when you get into things like the Pilates and the ankle straps, you're still moving. You're moving the joints in a certain range. There's a bit of isolation with some of the muscle groups, but it's actively moving. So it's actually helping you recover a little bit.
Yeah.
So if you find that you get to a point where you're like, I just want a little bit more, think about adding in some of those like shorter add-on classes. You can either add them in right after the workout. So it can be a bit of this like burnout right at the end of your workout with, let's say, ankle straps, or on the days off, if you're wanting to do yoga or even like a Pilates class, the intensity is a little bit lower, but you're still getting that recovery piece in. Pilates
Pairing is one of the best things I think you can do with strength.
Right.
It's such a yin and yang, like they complement so well together.
Yep.
So I love that pairing. On the intermediate, I think, it's very similar. The first thing that I'll always say is like, you can do the outside activity with any program. You can always add more on, but it's more, what's the result that you're trying to go for? Like, what's your focus? So I would always lean into your priorities first and foremost. So if it's mastering this program, then I would lean in as written fully on it. If you want to do outside activity, just make sure you're watching your fatigue. To your point, you don't want to do so much that you go into these sessions tired and then you can't get the most out of it. But I'll say this too, like I think going back to what we've been talking about, there's a time to scale back and let fatigue kind of like take a back seat, like let yourself recover. And so maybe it's a mindset shift too of maybe the intensity that we're driving into these workouts isn't always geared around the weights, but maybe it's in your level of focus. Maybe it's in your ability to take that intensity into an isometric hold, into your mobility, the same level of intensity that you would bring into progressive overload.
Yep.
Can you translate that into these little details, and maximize that level of work?
This is really where we leaned into those weekly themes, right? So like when we talk about the themes, don't just kind of like brush them off, like use the themes because they're there for a reason. It's like week 1, get to know yourself, get to know the movements a little bit.
That's the whole point.
Then week 2, like you're starting to lean into something different. Listen, I am someone who gets like so hyped and motivated when I decide to do something, I'm all in and I'm ready to go.
Yeah.
Sometimes you kind of have to hold yourself back a little bit and like don't full throttle in week 1. Maybe just like get the program done. Don't do add-ons.
Yeah.
Don't do the extra work yet. Just see how week 1 feels.
Yeah.
And then once week 1 is done, you'd be like, all right, how'd that feel? Can I add just a little bit more? But also be prepared. The program itself is going to add a little bit more.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I'm like, kind of let it do its work. Like that's a strength training framework, like, high level. That's how it's always geared. It's like a week 1 foundational, a little bit of a skill acquisition in 2, a little bit more of a ramp up in 3, and then you really throw down on 4, and then it's a scale back.
Yep.
And you kind of go back in. So let it ramp up, work on these little things. Not every week is meant to be a PR and like a peak week. That's honestly it's a poor formula. So Ash, let's do this real quick, man. I'm curious, like closing thoughts, like what advice you would give kind of just approaching this program, just like some personal philosophy or tips.
Get to know yourself again. Get to know yourself in your training programs again. Get to know yourself in movement again. Like give yourself just a little bit of freedom to like step back and look at things from like a broad lens, and then really start to like hone in, like really start to introduce something different. Go back to, I say it so many times, go back to the basics and like have fun with the basics, crush the basics.
Yeah, man.
Come out of it feeling good. That's such a huge piece to this. I never want people to feel completely debilitated by a program, especially in the beginning of the year. We want results, but like, can we lean in? You know what, 2026, like, can the results happen in 6 months instead of 1? Can it happen in 12 instead of 3
years?
Like, let's
100%.
really start to lean into this like longevity piece of our training and taking our time and just really enjoying it.
Yeah.
Like, get your workout done. But when you're done with your workout, get out. Get away from your tonal.
Yeah.
Like, go hang out with the kids. Go hang out with your friends. Like, go learn a new skill outside of what we're doing here. And like, let's just like find this like comfortable progression.
I love that, man.
Yeah. What about you?
It's gonna make it better. Similar lane. I've been thinking a lot about this of, if I were to speak to my younger self, like to get to a point of what I've understood now and what I would want someone to understand from the beginning, like if you could give someone kind of the answers right off the bat, we have such an obsession about outcome all the time, about like getting somewhere, building muscle, getting to a certain place with like body comp and all these things, which is fine, but you're going to find yourself just chasing and not enjoying the work that you're doing, and this is how people burn out. And it really comes down to this thing of, can we get process oriented? Can you get so obsessed with like the details and starting to fall in love with just movement, and just letting those results happen? We're always going to achieve these things. It's written down. You got the program that's going to guide you. So just trust the work, get to know yourself, learn these movements, and set yourself up for the rest of your life.
Wow. Should we just drop the mic right there?
We don't have a mic.
That was it, y'all. Joe just like wrapped that up in a pretty bow. We might be starting off the new year, but we just gave you a present after the holidays.
Yeah, come
on. Joe, like doing this with you always is like the highlight. Love nerding out. Love hearing your motivation. Training with you is always like such a gift.
No, it's inspiring watching you.
We have such a great team, and not just our team as coaches, but our team at Tonal and really the team that's in the OTC.
Yeah, man.
So, as we kind of wrap this up, again, ask us questions. Hit us up in the OTC and on social media if there's more questions you have. You'll be able to see the programming, the nitty-gritty of the day-to-day once it drops, and you can ask even more questions once you do. The biggest thing is that we are all about breaking through. So what happens in the dark really gets exposed in the light. And that's kind of what we're going to lean into in 2026. Let's do some quiet work, but like also let's cheer ourselves on in the OTC. Make sure you guys always take the sweaty selfies, celebrate the milestones if you have them. We absolutely cannot wait to break through with you in 2026. We'll see you
out there, guys.